So it needs acid, right?
Yes.
It's a saltwater pool. You see how high the pH there is? I put 3/4 of a bottle last week. So it raises really quick. So part of the drawback with the saltwater pool is that the pH will rise rapidly.
The chlorine stuff.
Yeah, I know. I wonder why. I'll check it out right now. Lowe's, they have their salt only at 60%. So it's only running at 60% capacity. I gotta raise that when I get the controller. Okay, so this is a salt cell that you'll see at the counts. We use mainly the Pentair ones and then the Hayward Aquarite cells. You've seen that one yesterday. I showed you that one, the one we added salt to. That was a Hayward, this is the Pentair one. So basically the salt cell, what it does is it uses the power. Usually there's a power center, but this one here is using the automated system for its power here. So electricity goes through the cell. Those metal plates that are in there get charged with the current. The salt hits it, it goes through the water, and it's converted to chlorine. That's basically how it works. When you have a salt cell, it makes its own chlorine. You don't need to worry about bringing shock back usually, or adding chlorine to it, or tablets, because it makes its own while it's running. So I like them. I have about 30 of them on my route. You've seen quite a few of them. Okay, I went ahead and raised production up to 100% here and increased the chlorine level. So part of equipment maintenance is replacing salt cells when they are no longer functioning anymore. This particular cell, the Hayward T-Cell 15, actually lasted almost 9 years at this account, but it's no longer producing, so I replaced it last week. So over at this pool, we took over this account. I went ahead and replaced the salt cell because it wasn't working. So the other pool company was dumping salt in here like crazy without thinking about the cell itself being the problem. So after I changed the cell, showing 5,000 parts per million of salt, which is too high for this to work. So the solution for this, the pool has to be drained down partially, maybe about 2 feet all the way around, and refilled with fresh water to dilute the salt. So you see it says high, so it has high salt in here. From the other company that's adding bags and bags of salt. This particular unit works off of 27 to 3,400 parts per million. You need to recalibrate the cell. You can wait 2 hours, it'll activate, reset itself, but if you need to recalibrate it, you just put it to off, and you put it to auto, and you hit diagnostic 5 times. And the number should cycle through like that. You can see it cycling. And once it gets to a level where it stops moving, you can go ahead and hit. You can put it superchlorinate and then back to auto. And that will recalibrate the system right there. It's got 4,000 parts per million. A little bit salty, but it wasn't working, so I think there's a little bit too much salt in there. This is your voltage. It usually operates when it's producing at that voltage right there. And that's in the range of the amps if it's producing salt at that point. If it's not producing salt, it'll be 0. So this is a good way to indicate your cell's going bad too, with the voltage and the amperage. Okay, so the salt cell is showing that it's low on salt, right? Yeah. So before we add salt, you want to go ahead and we're going to clean the cell just to make sure that that's an accurate reading on here. Before you add salt to any pool, you want to clean the cell. And then if this light is flashing, of course the cell is dirty. But sometimes when the cell gets some calcium buildup, it gives you the wrong reading. So I'm going to take it apart and clean it. You want to turn off the pool, make sure it's not going to come back on. You can see the on and off tripper, so it's fine. So come back over here. There's some calcium on this side, you can see it now. See it in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's flashing now?
Yeah.
That means that there's too much salt in here. So when I clean the cell, it's showing me that there's too much salt in here. So now there's high salt in here. So now it's getting an accurate reading. When we come back next week, it's probably going to just show good without flashing. Okay, so a couple of things to note about the salt system. When the cell isn't working, you have to switch to chlorine tablets or liquid chlorine. In the meantime, until you get the cell either cleaned or you get the customer to replace the cell if it's going bad. Next thing also, in the wintertime, the water temperature drops too low, so the salt systems aren't working. It'll show you a cold indicator. If and you have to just go with liquid chlorine in the wintertime in the pools. They don't work in cold water. So when the water temperature drops below a certain temperature, I think it's got to be in the 60s or lower, the salt system will stop producing. So those are the two things you need to remember about the salt cells. If they start to fail, switch to liquid chlorine and tablets, and if in the wintertime when it gets cold, they're not going to work. You can see here both the cell and the life are flashing. That means the salt cell is dirty. I'm going to have to clean it to get the salt cell working again. The salt pool looks like the salt system stopped working sometime during the week. Also, it's perfectly clear. You can see the water is very cloudy. You check the cell. And sure enough, the cell is flashing that it needs to be cleaned. And so it's not producing chlorine all week. And that's one of the drawbacks to the salt tank, to really be on top of it so that this won't happen. And it's hard to prevent it from failing from week to week, but just keep an eye on it every week when you check your chemicals to make sure it's operating. The pool is roughly 30,000 gallons, and we're going to go ahead and add salt to it. So on the back of the bag, each bag here, Nathan, if you look at it, tells you, okay, if you want to raise the salt level by X amount, is how much to add, okay? So it's 30,000 gallon pool. You want to raise it by 500 parts per million roughly, so that's 480. 500 parts per million, you add 3 bags, okay? So that would be for this pool here. If you want to raise it, if you want to charge it at the beginning, start the pool, you'd add 20 bags.
Wow.
That would bring it to 3,200 parts per million, which most salt systems run off that amount right there. Okay, so I'll show you what the salt reading is back here and you get an idea how much we need to add. Let's go, bud. But it's still showing low salt. So we're gonna go ahead and clean it. So basically you just want to put it in the perimeter of the pool. Having a good razor blade is a good idea. Just cut it. Carefully pour it in. Clean the back. Super quick dissolving salt, especially if the water is warm like this one here. This one is temperature is 78 degrees. So it'll dissolve really quick. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit, pour the other 2 bags in. It's quick dissolving salt. You don't need to brush it, but you could to spread it around the pool. Leave us alone for a minute, guys. We're trying to film here. Stop it. Go. Go home. Then I quickly brush it to disperse it real quick, kind of help break it up. You can see it's really quick dissolving. And then the G3 is right there in the middle getting that section, so... Guys, we just cleaned that. Get out of there. Come on. Out. Jeez. Just as I thought, it's working, but it's got low salt, so we'll have to add some salt. See this right here, Nathan? It's got a red light saying the salt is low.
I've been listening to you.
Okay.
You say everything twice. Okay, got it. Low salt.